This is VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special. Now, here's your hosts, Matt Brown and Mike Somich.
Final hour of our schedule breakdown here. The NFL dropped everything. We are giving you news and nuggets, bets to get in the account, calendar reminders, all of the above happening here. Some housekeeping real quick. Celtics 127-102 victors there over the Knicks. So they did not 1-2-3 Cancun, Mike. They went out and Jaylen Brown 26-8-12 tonight for the Celtics team. So they extend this at least a little bit longer.
Yeah, surprisingly, a series-high assist number for the Celtics here with 27 in the game. So saw them share the basketball a lot better. Hit a lot of threes. We'll see if they're able to replicate that in Madison Square Garden for Game 6.
We are underway in Minnesota, where they are looking to dispatch the Warriors. Now, the Warriors might 1-2-3 Cancun. They're old. You know what I'm saying? Like they're old. Like they might 1-2-3 Cancun. Get on out of there.
I wouldn't be. It's no Curry. That's the problem. They, might have a banana boat in their life soon here.
Yeah. So it is early lead for the Timberwolves, but again, we're only about halfway through the first quarter there. But it is a big night, as I see on the Twitter machine here. JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson sitting courtside with each other there at the game, Mike. So they didn't pay attention to the schedule release. They're at the game.
They might have known. If it's getting leaked out to the general public, I wouldn't be shocked if they had an idea who they were playing before this.
Over in the NHL, Panthers all over the Maple Leafs to take a 3-2 lead in that series, 6-1. And we're just getting going here down the street from me in Las Vegas. Oilers and the Golden Knights 0-0, about 14 minutes left in the first period there, Mike. Golden Knights up against it.
Yeah, if the Knights make this a 7-game series, Game 7's on Sunday, Matt. Do we have to skip golf to go to that Golden Knights game?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe. But could we do both? Maybe we can do both. Who knows?
We have to check the start time. Maybe
that would be,
get golf in and then head over to the stadium.
Yeah, whatever. We'll watch it regardless. We'll watch it regardless if they get it going there. But again, down 3-1 there. Apparently there was an Air Canada flight that was landing here yesterday, Mike, that was full of Oilers fans, and it said we'll soon be landing in Oilers country or something like that. As they were landing at the airport here. So went over well with the people on the plane, not so much when word got out as to what happened there.
Yeah, they're lucky that the Vegas ground crew didn't find out. They could have just had them circling for a couple hours in that Vegas wind, deal with the turbulence.
Pittsburgh Steelers, an interesting team for us to try and break down because we don't know who's going to play quarterback for them. It is at least assumed by Johnny Avello and his team over there at DraftKings Sportsbook that it will be Aaron Rodgers. That said, Mike, it's actually been, 10 days now with no really talk about that at all. But with the way that they handled draft day, or maybe they're just looking to the future. Maybe they just like this next draft class so much better. They're like, hey, we're not going to go this route. We're going to just go ahead and wait around and see if we can't get who we want next year. I mean, like, I don't know why people are just completely ruling that out.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that he's not already signed and people are assuming he is going to sign. I mean, it still feels like it is 100% the landing spot if he does play this year, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't. So I kind of agree with Johnny on this one and say that he is a Steeler, but it is very odd that we haven't actually seen ink-hit paper yet, and we are 10 days after the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, like, this is a draft class unlike this year, Mike, where we are getting, these real draft analysts say that there are 4 surefire grade, round 1 graded quarterbacks and as many as 6 that could play their way into the conversation as well. And so it's not like one of these where we're kind of taking best available type deal like we did this year. There are legitimate real quarterbacks coming out in this class.
There are. They may be able to get one even if Aaron Rodgers is on their team, though. So you never know. I mean, this is a Pittsburgh team.
There you go, buddy. I like it. Let's throw some let's throw some jabs here. I like it.
We've learned that Aaron Rodgers is not a savior, so why are we just assuming he's going to be for Pittsburgh?
If you look here, there's not a lot to love. I mean, the wide receiver position, I guess you bring in DK Metcalf, but Mike, again, if you don't have anyone to throw him the ball, who really cares? Najee Harris is gone. Your tackles, your guards are all middling to average. I mean, the offense is just not going to put up very many points. Sure, you've got Watt, you got Hayward, you got Heisman. You got guys that can rush the passer on the defensive side of the ball. That's fine. You add Slay at the corner position, who is still very, very good. So they'll limit maybe getting blown out in games. But, man, where do the points come from And like you said, maybe even if Aaron Rodgers is there, where do the points come from? That's what we have to ask ourselves here.
Well, you need the Steelers pixie dust again, right? With these red zone turnovers and defensive scores and blocked punts and just, down at half, but end up winning the football game. That's what we saw them live by last year. And it's what they're going to have to use as a formula this year to be successful again, because DK Metcalf came in. That's great. He is definitely better than Pickens, who left out the door, but there's not really anything else. I mean, Freiermuth, I guess you could talk about at the tight end position, but that's not a big play guy that you're really thinking is dangerous. The quarterback room, with or without Aaron Rodgers, is not a top half of the NFL quarterback room. Like, even if you add them, it's not like that solves that problem. So it's the defense that has to stand on their head and be able to create turnovers in difficult positions to make this team competitive. And then you go through the schedule and you're like, well, you got the Ravens twice. You got the Bengals twice. Yes, you do get to play your other division rival there twice as well, which is, I guess a positive in the Browns. You should win both of those games, but you got the Jets week 1. That should be a win. But then the Seahawks, that's a coin flip. The Pats, that's a coin flip. The Vikings in Ireland, you're a dog in that game. Like, it's just a lot of games here as you go through the schedule where I don't really love their chances. And if the Bears are better, and if the Packers are decent, and the Chargers are better, all of a sudden this becomes a hard schedule.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this. They are 2.5-point favorites in week 1 against the Jets because it is assumed that Aaron Rodgers will be there. We're looking at an 8.5 win total on the season for this team. But then you get into the Seahawks game. Seahawks come to town as very slight dogs, coin flippish, 1.5, something like that. Mike, we don't know a ton about the Seahawks team. Maybe we know at least a little bit by week 2, so we'll see about there. But then you start going. You're dog on the road to the Patriots. You're a dog at home to the Vikings. You are, of course, favorite of the Browns. Everyone's favorite over the Browns. But you're a dog on the road to the Bengals. You're a dog at home to the Packers. There's games in this where, again, Aaron Rodgers is definitely an upgrade from Mason Rudolph. I'm not going to say that he's not. But can he overcome the fact that he doesn't have a ton of talent around him? I mean, you could argue he had more talent with the Jets last year and they couldn't win any games. So, I mean, like, this is not just
that's not an argument.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Yeah.
He had more talent with the Jets last year on the offensive side. Now, the defense did not play up to snuff, but the Jets offense was exponentially more talented on paper than the Steelers offense.
And they couldn't move the ball.
By the way, the Steelers offensive line isn't good either. It's not like this is a good offensive line he'd be behind, and that was a big issue in New York. I don't see how the Steelers team is just automatically going to be better on offense just because Aaron Rodgers is there.
Yeah, it's already juiced to the under. It's an under bet for me, but it's already juiced to the under. I'll let it go. If anything, I would just take alts. And Mike, actually, if you were going to take alts, now's the time to take alts because, like you said, the pen has not gotten to paper yet, right? I mean, he might not play. He might not sign with them. And if that's the case, this win total is going to go to 7.5 or 6.5.
And it is baked in that he will. Like you heard Johnny Aiello earlier say, we are assuming he is going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. So the market is assuming that if he is not, this thing is going to plummet. I also like the idea after week 6, if this is a Steelers team that somehow starts 4-1, which is possible, 3-2, somewhere in that range, give me the under. That's an in-season under for me after that week 6 Browns game.
Cincinnati Bengals go out and sign their big 2 receivers. So you will have Jamar Chase, you will have T. Higgins, you'll have Joe Burrow at quarterback. So you at least have that part of everything down. Mike Gesicki was definitely serviceable at tight end as well. Of course, the big question mark will be the offensive line. Can they step up? It was an offensive line they spent a ton of money on that was only middling. And that is not what they were going for. They were going for an offensive line they thought could be a top 10 unit in the NFL. That did not pan out. Can they take that step forward? The real question mark here, it comes down to the defensive side of the ball, Mike. We know they just got absolutely trounced last year. Your best player wants a new contract. Do you have to move him out of town because he's not going to play? All of that in question here. So I think this Bengals team is going to go as far as this defense takes them, but holy hell, is this going to be an over team basically every single week?
Yeah, that's how I'm going to play the Bengals. I'm going to play them as a bet the total over type team every single week. I'll be betting when they're favorites. Give me the underdogs team total over, because you're going to see that depressed. There's just a lot of ways I want to bet overs against this defense. And you mentioned Trey Hendrickson. He's 30 years old. He wants multiple years guaranteed on the contract. That's something the Bengals have never done, except for Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, who are all early 20s when they signed that contract, 26, 27, that age range. So I would be surprised if you see this work out here from a Bengals perspective, which tells you from a Trey Hendrickson and Bengals perspective, which means this defense just gets even worse. It would be the under at 9.5 or pass for me. I'm not going to get to the window on it, but I am going to be betting against this Bengals team and totals to the over quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, they did spend their first round pick on a defensive end, so it wouldn't be like Hendrickson leaves and it's just complete void there. Shamar Stewart is a legitimate first round talent on the defensive line. You would have to assume, Mike, they're going to get something in return for Hendrickson. I can't imagine this is like a trade for picks. Like, you need a player. You need a body on the defensive side of the ball, right? I mean, like, you can't just say, like, oh, okay, a future pick here when you have, this safety situation they have, when you have this corner situation that they have, when you have a defensive tackle situation that one of the guys ranked out 107th out of 118 qualifiers. Like, they got to get a warm body in return, right?
Well, you would like to, but you're also in a terrible cap situation because of these long-term contracts you have on the offensive side. So you kind of need a price-controlled dude, and you're not getting a price-controlled defensive end to replace him unless you're doing it in the draft. So you kind of need the pick, too. It's a terrible situation for this Bengals defense.
They're going to score. They're going to average 33 points a game and give up 37 points a game over the course of the season. Yeah. Ravens and Browns.
Average 33 and have a losing record.
Ravens and Browns when we come back.
You're tuned in to VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Rolling right along here on VSiN, the sports betting network. Thank you for being with us on channel 158 over on SiriusXM, YouTube TV, terrestrial stations across this great country of ours. Matt Brown, Mike Somich here as we continue to roll through these teams. The Ravens, one of the more interesting teams for me from a handicap perspective, Mike. It seems like you have all of the makings of a Super Bowl winning team, and yet it just year after year they can't quite get it done, can't do it. It's just something about this team. You got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Flowers and Bateman and Andrews, and then you signed DeAndre Hopkins, and you've got two good tackles to go along with a really good center, and then you go and make a good defense even better by drafting one of the better safeties to go along with Kyle Hamilton. Like, it's hard to poke holes in this team other than the fact that it's kind of like that deal where we say, sometimes about it is just they just can't get over the hump. And it seems like here in these teams, in these years where we've really loved this team, Mike, it just something happens. They throw in a clunker. They throw in one where you just scratch your head and they don't get it done.
Yeah, this is a team that's been very, very good in the regular season and just struggled to win those games that you thought they could win in the playoffs. It felt like 2 years ago when they had that home game against the Chiefs in the AFC title game, they were going to be able to get through. They just could not get it done. They really had a wonky game plan. The Chiefs able to get through. Last year, you've got Derrick Henry, you've got Lamar Jackson, and you can't get it done. You just can't. It's frustrating if you're a Ravens fan seeing the playoff struggles, but the regular season has been very good to them, and this win total sitting at 11.5. I look through it and there's a lot of teams on here I think could be a little bit better than we expect, like the Texans, like the Rams, like the Bears, but you're catching all of them at home, right? And I like them against the Bengals. I like them against the Steelers. I like them against the Browns. It feels like they go 5-1 in the division most likely. And then you look at the other road games that they're set up with. The tough games are at the Bills. That's week 1. I don't mind having that week 1. It's at the Chiefs. That's week 4. That's a tough spot considering you're playing the Lions on Monday Night Football at home right prior to it. But after you get past that, I mean, there's no major stretch of the schedule where I'm like, yeah, the Ravens are really going to struggle here. It feels like there are stretches where they're going to have multiple 3-game win streaks throughout the process of this schedule. So I look at the 11.5. It's a big number. I still would lean toward going over. I think this is definitely the best team inside the division when you combine that offense with that defense in the regular season. Do I want any piece of them in the playoffs? No, not even a little. But this is a regular season conversation when we're talking about a schedule, at least. And to me, that's most likely a division winner, most likely over the 11.5 win total.
So this one could bite you. Now, I did set a calendar reminder here, Mike, week 4 for the Ravens. And this one, I'm not very confident about. This one could end up biting you if this team actually is elite. But at Bills, Lions, Chiefs, through 4 weeks. And if you're in love with the Texans, you could even throw the Texans in there and make this one that you look at after 5 weeks or something. But an 11.5 win total, I think we can at least confidently say they're not going to make it through that stretch undefeated. And 2-2 probably buys you a game on this win total here or something. So I'm not willing to lay. It's a juicy 11.5. It's 11.5 where it's 115, right? I mean, like, this is shaded towards an over. Again, this could bite you if this team's elite, but I'm going to set the calendar reminder after week 4 where they go on the road to the Chiefs, come back home to the Texans where the algorithm is going to say, hey, I'm not going to give you any credit. Here's the Texans, but it's at home against the Texans, it's at home against the Rams. Then you get that bye week there, Mike. Week 4 is a calendar reminder for me for the Ravens. Hopefully they go 2-2. Hell, if it's a 1-3, which is not out of the realm of possibility, it is the Lions, it is the Chiefs, it is the Bills, then you're going to get a much better number on this Ravens team where I like the rest of that schedule a ton better.
Yeah, I would do it week 4 and week 6, to be honest. I mean, maybe they split the Texans-Rams, right? Those are 2 tougher games. I mean, they're going to be favored in both those, but it's not impossible they lose one of those 2 games. And so maybe you set the reminder after week 6, see if the price is a little bit better. Maybe there's some panic heading into the bye, and you come out of the bye, and I think you have a very favorable schedule once you get out of that bye. So this is just a team that I think is consistent. The defense is good. The offense is good. They control the ball with the run. They have enough playmakers to throw the football if they need to. Like, this is just a good team. This is going to be one of the teams that I use. So I'm playing the Bills with a bunch of different teams to win their division. I'll have a Bills-Ravens division winner parlay that's paying plus money. I think this is one of the more likely division winners we have this year.
Yeah, guys, after that bye that we're talking about there in week 7, it's Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets. You get Cincinnati twice. You get the Steelers twice. Patriots, Packers. But again, if this team is as good as we think it could be, Mike, yes, not cupcake games with Cincinnati, not a cupcake game against the Patriots with either going to be better. It's on the road at the Packers and all that, but those are all winnable games for a team that we think is going to be very, very good. So again, after that bye, I think we could buy in, like we said, after week 4 or week 6, as you just said. Maybe I'll put in a couple of different reminders there in the calendar to take a look, and then we come in and we buy in pretty heavily on the Ravens.
Yeah, I love the Bengals to start out hot. Maybe they start out 4-2, and you're staring at a 2-4 Baltimore team, or 5-1 and 3-3, and you get a nice price to win the division. This is a division backloaded schedule. 5 of the 6 games come inside the division, come after the bye, so they have an opportunity to make up quite a bit of ground in the division later in the season as well. So a lot of possibilities for the in-season play here for the Ravens, especially after they get outside that first stretch.
Cleveland Browns. Cleveland, not mentioned as one of the road destinations that Mike said people are circling to come and visit over the course of the season. How dare he? Cleveland Browns.
How many times have you been to Cleveland, Matt?
I have been twice, but that was for work, for business purposes, not for pleasure purposes.
So never for I've been to Cleveland for pleasure once. Went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was phenomenal.
Okay. All right. Yeah. See, so there you go. It could be a destination for sure for some of these people. Guys, it doesn't look pretty here. It's a 4.5. It's a 4.5 win total for the Cleveland Browns. You don't know who's going to be playing quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. It does not start off great for the Cleveland Browns. It's Cincinnati, it's Baltimore, it's Green Bay, it's Detroit. You're very likely looking at 0-4. You get the Vikings, but it's over in London. It'll be a month for J.J. McCarthy to adjust to the NFL, so now he's a month into the NFL. Man, week 6, Mike, maybe at the Steelers, if there's no Aaron Rodgers situation, whatever, like maybe that's the first one that you kind of grasp onto as a potential win. But boy, it is it's bleak.
It is bleak. And again, when you look at the home and road splits for how difficult this schedule is, it feels like all of their easier games are on the road. It's not what you want when it's a team with a 4.5 win total. Like, you've got the Bengals, the Packers, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the 49ers, the Bills, the Steelers, and the Titans at home. Yeah. The Titans is the one where you're like, yep, we can win that game. The rest of them, you're either a coin flip or a dog.
But
like, it's not close.
But at least by then, Cam Ward has 13 weeks of experience. I mean,
Shedeur has 13 weeks of experience.
Yeah, well, that's true. Hopefully for our tickets, that's the case. Yeah. Actually, hopefully it's Dylan Gabriel actually that has 13 weeks of experience for them by then. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. So let's do the exercise that we did with some of these other teams. You're sitting in a 4.5 win total. It is heavily juiced towards the over. So I mean, you can get plus money on the under. This team has to get to 5 wins. Mike, we said, okay, let's say there is a world that exists in week 6 at the Steelers, okay? At the Jets, but again, these are road games again. At the Jets in week 10. At the Raiders in week 12, but again, these are road games we're talking about. Titans at home in week 14. Where these are potential wins that I'm counting. Okay, let's count the Dolphins. You hate your Dolphins. Okay, let's count the Dolphins. That's 5 right there.
Well, and the home game against the Steelers, if you're giving them the road game as a potential win, the home game has to be a potential win.
Okay, so six.
There's 6 potential wins.
6 potential wins, and they got to win 5 of the 6. I mean, this is a plus money under. This is like a plus money under, is it not?
It is plus 135 to the under 4.5. It's a minuscule total, right? But this is not a very good offense, and like now you're putting a rookie quarterback most likely or Joe Flacco in there as your quarterback. Like it's a franchise. It's a mess. The one way you get caught here is if Shedeur Sanders is good, because I know Dylan Gabriel's not good enough. If Shedeur Sanders somehow is good enough, that's the way that you get busted here, is that he wins a couple of these games. They beat the Dolphins at home. They beat the Steelers twice. They beat the Titans at home, and they're able to find one other game to win. You're writing down the under.
I'm having to write down.
Yeah, you're writing down the under.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I know you well enough to this point that when you start leaning over and you go for the pad in the middle of the segment, you lose focus. You're writing a bet down.
It's plus. It'd be different if it wasn't plus money. I mean, that's a decent plus money number, man. Like plus 135 on an under where we just named potential wins and we could only get to 6, and that means they would have to win 5 of the 6. I mean, like, this is just not happening.
So their least wins, the Browns are plus 475, the Saints are plus 500, the Giants are plus 650. It's got to come from one of those 3.
Bet all 3 of them. You still make money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're plus money in all 3 of them if you bet them all.
Just bet all 3 of them.
Portfolio of the 3 worst teams in the NFL at plus money.
That are easily the worst teams. Like easily the worst.
Not even close.
It's not even close. Like easily. That's another bet right there. You just bet all 3 of them, and then you make money, no matter what. When we come back, let's look at this AFC West, in which we have all kinds of interesting opinions.
You're tuned in to VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We got 2 segments left. We got 2 divisions to get through. Schedule release special. Matt Brown, Mike Somich. Let's get right to it. AFC West. The Kansas City Chiefs, maybe my hot take here, Mike, of the entire program. This Kansas City Chiefs team might struggle this year. If you look at how this schedule has played out for them, they have done them no favors whatsoever, despite the fact of this team being the darlings of the league for the last several years. You start in Brazil against the Chargers of all. I mean, like, the Chargers, we think, are going to be a pretty good team. That is not a gimme win. Then it's Eagles. Sure, you get the at Giants in Sunday Night Football. Ravens, Jags, Lions, Raiders, Commanders, Bills. I mean, like, there's, I guess, a little bit of a respite when you get way out to week 12 where it goes Colts, Cowboys, but it's still short week. Cowboys on the road, Thanksgiving type situation. Texans, Chargers. You're going on the road to the Titans. I know that that's going to be a win, but still, you're on the road there. Broncos, I mean, buddy, 12 wins. I know it's a little bit shaded towards the under, so people are kind of thinking the same way I am. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get to 12 wins with the way that this just all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a 15-2 team last year. Win total sitting at 11.5, juice toward the under, minus 120 there. And I kind of agree with the direction of this. You mentioned all the tough games. The rest spots for those games, not wonderful either. So week 5, you're at the Jaguars on Monday Night Football. Then you play the Lions on a short week the following week on the Sunday Night Football game. Week 8, you're taking on the Commanders at home for Monday Night Football, and then you have a short week for the Bills on Sunday going to Buffalo. Those are tough spots there to play big-time games. It's a Chiefs team that's been battle-tested. They've played this type of schedule before, but I don't think this roster is necessarily as good as what we've seen the last couple of years. And I think the Broncos are significantly better. I think the Chargers are significantly better. The Raiders are froggy, especially when they play the Chiefs. This is a team that I think is going to struggle to win the division for the first time in years.
And Mike, look, I don't want to buy into the whole hype machine of like, you get everyone's best shot and all of that because you've been the big dog and all that. But it is at least a little bit of a thing. And then cap onto the fact that 8 of the games are standalone games as well. So not only are you getting teams that are kind of focused on you anyway, but then you get them doubly hyped up because you're getting the standalones as well, these island games, 8 different times for this Chiefs team. Man, it is just not. And then you look, it is like standalone game in week 1, standalone game in week 3, standalone game in week 5, standalone game in week 6, standalone game in week number 8. You are getting all these teams' best efforts. I don't know, man. It's a year older for Kelsey. Like you said, the roster didn't get that much better. I could only play the under. Just no over for me here on this team.
First 9 weeks, you've got 5 standalone games, and your other 4 games are versus the Raiders. Okay. Divisional rival, but okay. Yeah. And the Bills, Eagles, and Ravens.
Yeah.
Woof. That is tough to start out the year.
It's just absolutely brutal. I think this could be the year where we are kind of looking at this team going, they're good, but it's not going to be no 15-2. That is not going to happen this year for sure. Let's talk about a team that is going to go 15-2, and that's the Denver Broncos. No, I'm kidding. But I do love me some Broncos. Listen, I'm hyped to talk the Broncos.
You're a Bo Nix fan. Back-to-back years, you love you some Bo Nix.
Hey, listen, Bo Nix went and proved a lot of people wrong, including you and I and everybody else out there. He played very good in his rookie season. We always talk about the second-year leap for these quarterbacks and stuff. So will he have that? He's got some good coaching. He's got some good talent around him. You start to look at what they built on the offensive side of the ball. Really good at the tackle position. Really good at the guard position. Then you bring in Evan Ingram at the tight end position to go along with Mims and Sutton. They drafted a running back, which we knew what they were going to do anyway, Mike. But then you just look at the defensive side of the ball, and it is just killer after killer after killer over on the defensive side of the ball as well. Man, they signed Dre Greenlaw in the offseason. I know I sound like a fanboy for this. I have no affinity to the Broncos whatsoever. It's just like I love everything that they did. It's a 9.5 win total. I can point to 10 wins fairly easily on this schedule.
Yeah, I like the Broncos more than I like the Broncos last year. I think this is a division that gets 3 playoff teams. I think the Broncos are one of those 3 playoff teams. This is one where I think we could see 3 teams at 10 wins, and then the Broncos would be one of those 3. The schedule, to me, there's not like that easy stretch of the schedule where you're like, well, we're really going to crush here. You do have back-to-back games against the Jets, Giants, and Cowboys week 6 through 8, so that's a nice breather for them. You don't
start
have
off
a ton of
Titans, Colts, which is pretty soft.
Yeah, it should be pretty soft too. Yeah. You don't have a ton of road games that are stacked up against each other. And you mentioned, look, Sean Payton in the second year. I expect Sean Payton to be a lot better this year than we saw or the third year. I'm sorry. I think we expect Sean Payton to continue to improve this franchise. And if Bo Nix gets better, this is a legitimate football team. That defense is stacked. They're definitely in the conversation for best defense in football. Yeah,
and that's the thing. So the defense is going to keep them in a vast majority of games. We're talking a 9.5 win total. We only got to get to 10. I think this is one where I will bet the regular one. Like most of the time, Mike, I really want to be, if I'm betting overs, then you're betting on teams to overachieve, right? And so it's like I usually go alts when I bet overs, and I'll stick with the normal numbers when it's unders. But I think I'm okay with taking the 9.5 and then also just adding on an alt for this team if they are even better than I think. But I think 10 wins here for this squad is very within the realm possibility. I don't think any longer is it like, okay, these 2 Chiefs games are losses. I don't think we look at that at the Texans and just assume that that's going to be a loss. Like, I think this is a team that's going to battle each and every week.
Sean Payton, 14-1, coach of the year. Any interest?
A little short, but sure. I mean,
I just, if you like the alt overs, right? That's
Yeah.
a correlated move that I think is at least interesting at 14. I agree with you. I was hoping for like 20 when I looked it up.
The Raiders are an interesting team. And the reason I say that is just as long as you have a functional quarterback, it makes you a more interesting squad, Mike. And so when you go and you get Geno Smith and then you draft Genty and you already have Bowers, it's not like this team is just going to be an auto win, I don't think. I mean, yeah, the defense leaves a little to be desired, but I mean, you still got Max Crosby. Like, that defensive line is good. They can't cover everybody. You're going to need a really strong pass rush to make sure that you just don't get thrown on all over the place for 400 yards a game. But, I think the offense has some upside. And the defense, sure, the corners are fairly weak, but you do have a good pass rush, so maybe you can make it tough on them to throw against these corners. I don't think the Raiders are just absolute slum here.
I don't either. The building got a lot more mature as well by adding Pete Carroll there. And we always talk about coach and quarterback. The upgrades at coach and quarterback, when you add Pete Carroll and you add Geno Smith, is significant for this Raiders team over what we saw last year. I think they run Genty into the ground. If they have success with that, all of a sudden you don't need your defense as much because you're possessing the football. You mentioned Bowers. I like him. I don't mind the receivers here. This is a froggy Raiders team. I think that's the best way to put it. They're going to surprise some people, and they're going to be able to win some football games. I don't want to play the over 6.5. It's too juicy for me at minus 145, but I do think this is an interesting football team.
At the Patriots is a loss. Monday Night Football, the Chargers, probably a loss. At the Commanders, probably a loss. And then Bears, probably a loss. So, Mike, this might be a Raiders team we throw into the calendar to check after week number 4. Because then we go Colts, Titans. Yeah, Chiefs is no good, but then we get the Jags game, we get a Cowboys game, we get a Browns game. Like, there's some upside towards the other side of this where it could start 0-4. Actually, maybe even very likely to start 0-4.
Yeah, this is a team where you want to start looking week 5. If you do believe in them and you like what you're seeing, I don't hate it. They could start 2-2 too. That's the crazy part about this Raiders schedule. Like, let's say the Patriots don't play well first game out of the jump, and then the Raiders win that, and the Bears aren't as improved, and they have to go to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas able to win that game as well. I think this is just a wide variety of outcomes for this Raiders team because we really don't know how much Carroll and Geno Smith are going to make a difference. We know it will be a difference. It's just that quantifying it is difficult.
Chargers are going to be a team people are going to talk about a lot. Certainly year 2 with Harbaugh is supposedly looking up here, Mike. I mean, listen, he did make a difference there in week number 1. That said, you play the Chiefs in Brazil, then you go Broncos in week 3, Commanders week 5. How about a nice little stretch here of Dolphins, Colts, and then Vikings on a short week, then Titans, then Steelers, then Jags. How about that little stretch right before you get a week 12 bye?
Yeah, that's where you want to look at this Chargers team. Maybe it's even after week 3. They play 3 division games there to start out the season, but then you do have a nice stretch there in the middle of the season where they're going to be favorites or at least coin flips in the majority of the games. End of the schedule, a little bit rough. You've got versus Eagles, at Chiefs, at Cowboys, versus Texans, at Broncos, but that middle stretch is nice. It's
a Chargers team where if you're going to assess this 9.5, you're going to have to just think, how do they close? How does that stretch go for them in the closing stretch? They got to win those middle games. If they don't win the middle games, they're not getting there anyway. So, like those middling games that you and I just talked about, that's how they got to get there. You have to talk about the faith in how they're going to be able to close with that Eagles and Chiefs and Texans and Broncos games. I'm not willing to get there. I think the win total is actually about right on this one, which we just don't say a ton. But I think the number is correct. So it's going to be a pass for me there on the Chargers. AFC South when we come back.
You're tuned in to VSiN PrimeTime, schedule release special, right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is the final segment of the schedule release special. Matt Brown, Mike Somich, and Mike, I mean, just pump it into my veins. It's the NFL here on May the 14th, and we're getting ourselves all hyped, throwing bets into the account already as it is as well, so we might as well just get right to our G-Bank best bets here. And for me, I played the Giants under 5.5. Like we said, we counted those wins out, Mike. They're just not there. You show me 6 wins on that Giants schedule, and I'll call you a liar. It is a very likelihood that this team is going for trying to get another top pick in the draft yet again. And so I look at this team all day, every day, under 5.5 wins. I'll probably play an alt under as well, thinking that this could be, a legitimate 3-win team here in the NFL this year.
Yeah, for my best bet, give me under Dolphins 8.5. I love me my Dolphins, but I do not love the roster, specifically defensively. I'm not sure what we're going to get from Tyreek Hill this year. And the end of the schedule is absolutely brutal for Miami. 3 outdoor games toward the end of the season. This is a team that struggles to close seasons anyway, and now they have to close it in snowy conditions. Don't love my Dolphins this year. Let's go under 8.5.
These bets are brought to you by G-Bank. Get yourself a signature card today, because listen, most of these places treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances. They don't do that over at G-Bank, so it saves you 3 to 5% on those cash advance fees. So you can also take advantage of some cashback rewards. You can also get cashback rewards on other transactions outside of gaming and get 2% on that as well. So go to VSiN.com/GBank. That is VSIN.com/GBANK today. Take advantage of the G-Bank Visa Signature Card. All right, Mike, we got to get through the AFC South. One of the least interesting divisions that there is. You and I think that the Texans are definitely the best team in that division. I guess we can have a debate here on what we think about the Jags. It is a team that I struggle to handicap every year. I think that the market always undervalues them, and then they underperform. And then, we know how this went last year with this team, 4-13. 7.5 is the win total. It's actually juiced a little bit towards the over. You do get the Panthers in week 1, but then outside that, now you go Cincinnati, Houston, San Francisco, Kansas City, and then Seattle, and then the Rams in London. What am I missing here? What's going on?
Well, you're not talking about the last 6 games of this schedule, which is at Titans versus Colts versus Jets, at Broncos, at Colts versus Titans. Really should be 5-1 during that final stretch.
So then this is the ultimate schedule alert team then. It is get at them at the bye week 8, right? Because they're going to win. They could beat the Raiders.
Maybe, but then they're at the Texans. So you're giving that one right away back in week 10, and then you play versus Chargers at Cardinals. I mean, this is tough, Matt. 7.5 feels low, but then you go through here and you're like, if this goes poorly and you're staring at a 1-9 team, a 2-8 team, are you really confident they're going to be able to rip through that later half of the schedule and go on a run when they're already out of playoff contention?
Yeah. So it's probably a schedule reminder, week 12 team after they go to the Cardinals, and just see if this has gotten just ridiculously low, because they'll at least split with the Titans. They'll at least split with the Colts, So, I mean, it depends on what that adjusted total is. I'll just reserve that for a week 12 schedule reminder. What do you say?
Yeah, it depends how they start out the season, but if they start out slow, then it's definitely one you want to wait until later. I don't think you do it at the bye, because they could lose to the Raiders out of the bye, traveling across the country, then back-to-back road games, and that Texans game is going to be tough. So this is a Jacksonville team I'd like to bet the over. 7.5, I think, is a proper number. I'm just worried their season is buried by the time they get to their good part of their schedule that they can win games at.
Titans go out, spend the number 1 overall pick on Cam Ward. There are a lot of people who like Cam Ward. A lot of people think that there is some upside here for him. Don't know if he's going to get that in his rookie season in a team that doesn't have a ton of talent around him, Mike. So with this Titans team, it's going to be tough sledding, at least early on. You start out really rough here. You're going at Denver. You are going versus the Rams. You do get an Indy game, but then you're going at Houston, at Arizona. This is just brutal here for the Titans.
Yeah, not a great early schedule for them. And I like Cam Ward. I just see so much of Caleb Williams in him, where it's this guy wants to try and extend plays, run away from linebackers in college, hunt the big play. He throws interceptions. All of those things come back and bite you in the NFL. If this is what we get from Cam Ward season 1 as a Tennessee Titan, I think it's really difficult for him to be able to really overachieve. And if that's the case, all of a sudden this schedule looks pretty daunting, and 5.5 might be a stretch here. And there's not a ton of other talent on this team either, Matt.
No, and I mean, if you're clawing for wins too, let's just say if you're a Cam Ward guy and you're hey, you just got to give him a little bit and then let him get his legs underneath him. Okay, you go to the bye in week 10, coming out against the Texans at home. That's not great. Seattle, maybe. Jags, who knows? You get 2 games against the Jags down the stretch. You do get the Saints down the stretch, and you do get the Browns down the stretch. So your best case scenario here, Mike, is if you're looking at 6 wins, they're going to have to steal a win somewhere along the way, and then you're just winning these kind of coin flippy games that you're going to have down the stretch. You know, if Seattle's not as good as we think, so Seattle, Jags, obviously a couple winnable games. Saints going to be a winnable game. Browns obviously a winnable game. So, I mean, for them to get there, you just kind of have a leap of faith here in the Titans team, which I'm just not willing to do.
Yeah, you have to think they beat the Colts twice, or at least once. They sweep the Jags, right? You need them to go 3-3 in the division, somewhere in there. And I don't think they win a game against the Texans. If they go 3-3 in the division, they're the wins. The wins are on the schedule, right? You've got the Browns game, you've got the Saints game, so that's 4-5. And then you just have to surprise in one other game, and you're over the total. That's why we're seeing the juice at -150 to the over. I'm just not so sure they go 3-3 in the division. I think 1-5 is more probable than 3-3, and then it's a struggle to get over this 5.5 number.
Houston Texans are +115 to win the AFC South, and that is a bet that you have said repeatedly that you want to make or have already made, and certainly will include in your portfolio right here. You look at the rest of these teams. Obviously, you're not in on the Titans. You're not in on the Colts. Jags, I guess, in a weird world, there is a world that they find out how to actually play football for a complete season. But +115 does seem like, if you're talking about division odds out there, Mike, and teams that we do think are kind of step ahead when we're talking about power ratings, I mean, +115 on the Texans is at.
Yeah, I think it's the second most likely division winner in the NFL. I think it's the first one's the Bills. I think the second one is the Texans. I think they're right up there with the Ravens and that top 3. Yeah. And when you look through the schedule, they can go 6-0 in division, 5-1 in division, and then you look at the outside of division games, and there's enough in this schedule that you can sprinkle in some wins there. You've got the Cardinals at home, the Raiders at home. You do have some tough games here. Like you've got a first place schedule, so you're playing the Niners, you're playing the Chiefs, you're playing the Bills, you're playing the Ravens. Those are all tough spots. But this Texans defense, I think, is another one that has to be in the conversation for best defense in football. And I expect a better version of this offense now that they've moved on at the offensive coordinator spot as well.
Yeah, I certainly like that stretch from week 13, right, where you get the Colts twice. You get the Raiders in there. Sure, there's a game against the Chargers, but again, we assume that they're probably going to be about even from a power rating standpoint on our end with all of that. At the Chiefs, who knows what the Chiefs look like by then, week 14, right? So you like that second half there for the Texans for sure. I like the +115 just for them to win the division, probably more than I like anything that has to do with win totals and whatnot and all that, because it's just, for me, I'm getting plus money on them to win the division. I'm only getting even money for them to win over 9.5. If they win 10 games, they're winning this division, right?
Yes, they are winning the division.
Yeah.
It's funny to me that it was 9.5 juice to the over last year, and now it's 9.5 juice to the under, and you have a better team in Houston this year.
And we'll wrap things up with the Colts. You were all over the Colts last year. What were you doing? What were you thinking? How did you like this Colts team? But here, you do not like them this year. You hate them. They are +360 to win the division. They have a win total of 7.5. Do we really even know who's going to play quarterback for them?
I have no idea what to do with the Colts. That you mentioned unhandicappable teams. This one is one of those where I like Shane Steichen. I have no clue what they're doing at the quarterback position. I don't know what you're getting from Anthony Richardson. I don't know how many games he's going to be able to play. I don't know if this defense is going to be as good as they were at certain points last year as well. This is one of those teams where I just kind of throw my hands up in the air. It would be an under at 7.5, but at the same time, if the Jaguars aren't good and if the Titans are bad, they have a shot at going over because of the division.
What do you handicap Daniel Jones starting week 1? Is it a coin flip? You think less than a coin flip? All right. Less than a coin flip.
You still would rather have Richardson start. There's still upside to Richardson. You know what Daniel Jones is. You still have upside with Richardson.
Guys, again, Cowboys week 6, Lions week 6, 49ers week 8 and 11, Ravens week 4, Jags week 12. These are all things that we're looking at as far as maybe setting some calendar reminders, see where these teams sit, because schedules either get way easier or way worse for them. Giants under 5.5 already in the account. I'm going to consider Patriots, Jets, and Browns as well on their win totals. But Mike, it's done for us here. We're going to hand it over to Joe Serralo for cashing out. He will have all of his thoughts as well as Wes Reynolds coming in, giving his PGA Championship picks.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.